Man, getting through this intro today seems even harder than usual, and I really hope you can forgive me the excitement today. But videos like this are just so much fun for me, and therefore I hope a few little bloopers here and there are fine. And I also hope that this review / comparison actually won't be too confusing for you, and at least at the end it will make enough sense for you to get it after all, because the thing is just that if the RHA MA650 Wireless would stand on their own, it would be so incredibly easy to recommend them, because all they do so well, and especially considering the price, the value is simply amazing. And yet, despite all I just said, I will try to convince you in this review to go for the MA750 Wireless instead. For all of that to be more comprehensive, you should maybe watch the MA750 Wireless review before, also to get what it's all about, those tips. Because the included tips offer quite a variety that actually has an impact on not just the comfort and fit, but also on the sound signature. Because with the foam tips and these ones, it sounds a little bit thinner, but for some people those might be more comfortable, and maybe though too thin. That's why these silicone tips work better for me in terms of comfort, but also the richer, warmer sound signature. But more about that, like I said in my review. You also get this carrying pouch, which is okay, I guess. And in my opinion, though, too short of a USB Type-C cable, because you can't really reach anything, so just use your phone's charger. Now, here is the MA650 Wireless. And here we have the MA750 Wireless. There are no big differences, because especially the neckband is pretty much the same, still very soft, feels good, very flexible, with USB Type-C here to charge it, power button with the status LED on one side and on the other one with the NFC, and the remote control that I still like so much, because with the dimple you can easily feel it even through gloves, skip through your tracks, and also change the volume. That works really handy. And the only difference that we have between those two in terms of design and comfort are the way that they go into your ear. These just go normally, and these have hooks. So let's just try to put them on this time the right way. So the remote on the right side, you just put them in. That's it. That is it. Now the 750 work a little bit different. Because of the hooks, you have to put them around your ear, which is not a big and hard task, but it just takes a few little more seconds. And compared to the 650, I have to just say what I said on the 750, they are secure enough in your ear due to the hook. But for me, they kind of don't reach far in enough, even though they kind of feel, at least on my weird little left ear, that it kind of pushes into some wall. But that's it. They are still very comfortable, not quite as secure. But the 650, I have to actually say I prefer in terms of comfort and fit a little bit more, because also those in my left ear, they kind of feel like they hit a wall that they don't hit on the right side. But they feel a little bit more secure here, actually, because they never fell out of my ear. And that is the great thing about these headphones. Bluetooth neckband. You have no wires below you, which is just so convenient because you have no drag or anything like that. The remote control definitely doesn't do that. They feel very comfortable. You have usually enough space to wiggle around, even though I notice when I have a collar on, they are very nicely hidden and very subtle. People actually pretty much don't notice them at all. But then I would have wished for maybe a centimeter or two more wiggling room for the cable so I can move to the sides. If you just make more maneuver, it's not complete to the side, it's not a problem at all. But especially the silicone tips here work very well for me. Super nice and comfortable, but it's not like the MA750 Wireless are not comfortable, because these as well, if you have them right in your ear, which should be absolutely not a problem for most people that have not my odd ear, they are just not quite as secure in my ear, because I don't get them quite to get that good of a seal, which actually has an advantage for me on the sound signature, because it felt a little bit more open with the not so proper seal. What they also still have is the magnetic attachment, which still on the 750s doesn't make so much sense, because they kind of still push forward from your chest, which I prefer on the 650s, because they don't do that. They attach still, but they stay flat. So that's handy and convenient. In terms of isolation, it's pretty much the same. In terms of powering, because they are self-powered, it's also the same, but let's actually talk about them. They obviously support apt-x, which is good enough. You don't really need apt-x HD, because I noticed no issue with that. There was no real delay if I watched videos, and the quality is easily good enough with that as well. Also AAC if you're on the iPhone side. That's that. The MA650 get a little bit louder for some reason, but the battery life is the weird thing, because those claim 12 hours and I reached about 10 hours. Those claim, I think, if I'm not wrong, 2 hours less, but got me 9 to 10.5 hours, so pretty much the same, which would have actually made sense for me because the neckband is the same, the battery should be maybe the same, because they also are actually dust and sweat proof, a little bit at least, but I think the MA750 have the higher rating, these ones don't have, so maybe there are some internal differences which also make up for the price, but it doesn't really make a difference in real life, which is good. So more than enough clear power, and Bluetooth in my opinion is kind of the way to go for. In case you don't want that, there are still wired versions for both here. I will talk about the pricing a little bit later on, but let's actually talk about the sound signature and compare them with the 750, and I have an actually quite good example for you. Now, you go into the entrance hall of a really beautiful house, which would be the 650, and everything sounds great, very nicely balanced, and just so good. Now here is where I'm trying to convince you to think about the 750s, because the 750s, now let's think about going to the basement or to the cellar, which means you get more bass and a nicer bass, a little bit more structured, a little bit more detailed, just a little bit nicer if you use the silicone tips. Now let's go to the attic, which adds a little bit more highs. Everything gets just a little bit cleaner, clearer, because these have a little bit of a grain at the high end and everything just expands. But then there are doors everywhere else, because you get a little bit more details, you get a little bit of a nicer balance, a little bit slightly pushed forward mids, and everything just feels so much more coherent. But let's get back to the 650s, because they do still everything absolutely great. The sound signature, I would say, is not really flat, a little bit more bass and so on, but the mids are not really recessed, but very flat on one line with the instruments and vocals. Highs, really, really good. Not really any sibilance, minimally, but not enough to be even mentioned. Very nicely done, especially for a mainstream Bluetooth headphone. It feels like an audiophile headphone, which is just so nice to listen to, and you can listen to pretty much everything. Now, it didn't quite give me the goosebumps that I got on the MA750, but still, bass is absolutely present, but it doesn't nearly ever try to overwhelm anything else in the rest. The mids do a nice job, vocals sound right, nice and full and rich. The highs are there, you never miss out any details. So, to keep it short, well balanced, nice and pleasant to listen to pretty much every music. You can listen to bass heavy music, even though that's not what my demand for. You can listen to orchestra, epic music, ballads, rock, metal, everything. That works so good. But like I said, the MA750 do everything just better. And like I said, it really feels like you would stand in the entrance hall and every door just opens up. You get a little bit more low end, you get a little bit more highs, you get a little bit more cleanliness, or yeah, something cleaner, clarity, more details, mids pushed, and that just makes it overall even so much more pleasant. For some people, maybe the sibilance is a little bit more and so. Some people maybe don't like the hook principle and so on. Principle is the wrong word, right? The way it just works. And now let's come to the pricing, so we can actually maybe help you to decide which one you should go for, because I can easily recommend both. But the way bigger recommendation goes to the 750. But let's check the prices in dollars. The wireless costs $82. That's a good price. If you want it wired, $58, which means 25 more bucks around more for these. I think that's totally worth it, because you get rid of the cable and you aren't really depending on the phone's headphone port, and you have the convenience of no cable and so on. The principle is nice. It's the wrong word. And then for the 750s, the price is $150 for the wireless version and about $63 less for the wired version. So here in that term, I'm not quite sure if you still need Bluetooth, because you save up so much money, but I'm just gonna say this. If you go for the wired version, I mean, $50 for this sound sounds absolutely reasonable. I haven't really tried many in this price range, but especially if you go the Bluetooth way for $80 or $85, they sound just incredible. Now for euros, it's a little bit different, because the 650 cost about 55, and I actually put on the wrong ones. The 650s are $55, euros. And about $30 more for the Bluetooth version. On the 750s, now I get that right, it's about, this is a little bit weird actually, $90 for the wired version, but if you go for the iPhone version that has the remote, which you can use on any Android phone anyways, but not control the volume, it's $70. So $70 compared to about $150 to get it wireless. That's a little bit much, but still, I think 150 they are totally worth, and these are totally worth the 85 bucks. But I mean, if you're willing to spend that extra money, you just get so much more of everything else. And I enjoy these a lot, especially since they are a little bit more convenient for me to put them in my ear, especially at work. Nicely done. But I have to say, even though the hook system on my left ear works a little bit out wrong, that's totally wrong. Let's just forget that. But they make up for it with the sound so much. And this is still my favorite headphone in ear. And yes, I have the T20i. We'll compare the 750 in terms of sound with the T20i in the T20i review. But I get what the T20i does better. But I don't really like it more, therefore. Which means 750, wired or wireless. I guess the wired one should sound about the same all the way. But if that way is shorter for you, if you want to pay less, 650. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to know anything else. So like I said, the excitement was there because, I mean, both of these products are so good. And I haven't really heard anything that I have right now here at the moment that sounds anything similar. Because, for example, I have the Revo Next here. It cost about 60 bucks as well. No, not compared to these. No. Okay, bye.